We're starting off high.
We can get a two fools agree on that one. Oh, by the way, look, we got the wide shot.
There was you had accountability. Now what I can
Now all you need is a podcast and a YouTube channel.
No, not even.
Where give me the money. Show me the money.
Apparently there's a Foolproof page.
Shoot the J. Shoot it. Live on Facebook.com/Foolproof Entertainment Network. I need you on Twitter. I need you to repost the Facebook pages.
To raise a human before I would
trust a human to raise back wolves.
Before I would trust a pack of humans to raise wolves.
Right. I hear you. Yo, welcome back. I was serious, man. We were going live.
I was not prepared.
You were not ready. Not ready for it. We'll see if Matt's still there. Matt, you still there?
Hey.
Your video's frozen right now, but hopefully it'll catch back up here in a second.
Sake.
I think when we ran into this last time, we just cut the video and cut it back on. It'll roll up.
Deja vu.
Man, what's going on? How's everyone doing today?
I'm all
Tonight, everybody having an all right week?
Okay.
It was all right.
Hanging on there, man.
Okay, week. They just all bleed together now.
They're starting to. I mean, I can't deny that.
How long has it been?
I mean, the topic that shall not be named, it's been probably a month and a half or so. Because that's kind of what we said. We said we weren't going to talk about it.
Hey, like, what's that?
Matt, you're cut.
We need one of them around the horn.
We just mute him. We just mute Matt. Done. The problem is I can't mute him easily. I'm sure I can figure it out, but
the symbol on the screen.
The X over his face.
This is gonna turn into that one show on ESPN.
Right, around the horn.
Gray him out and everything for a minute. Let him come back after a while.
Oh man, yo, we already got some live viewers in the chat right now.
Oh shit.
We got Craig and we got my Uncle Greg's out there. Greg's out there.
Hey, Uncle Greg.
Right.
Hey,
Craig's already asking. He wants to know when Ohio State football is going to recruit some talent. Since, they just had the top 3 picks in the draft and all.
Man.
I mean, I know Burrows technically wasn't Ohio State anymore, but that's where he started. That's where he got recruited.
Ohio State wouldn't know a good quarterback if it kicked him in the dick.
If it kicked him in the dick. Oh,
you didn't
man.
like Troy Smith?
I mean, I like Troy. Look, in fact, he's sitting right behind Cliff right now. That's Troy up on that Ohio State Buckeyes sign.
I like Troy. We actually had a conversation. I had a conversation with my people's. I'm a conversation with my people today about Troy Smith, and I feel like
I take Troy Smith over Terrell Pryor any day.
Man, thank you.
Wait. Are we talking about collegiately or
everything?
The league?
I mean, neither one of them were good in the league. Troy's been picked up. He's been a backup in like 12 different places. Terrell, what? Terrell, you like Terrell because wasn't he the quarterback for the Raiders for a minute?
For a little bit, for a few weeks.
And then didn't he come home to?
He didn't do that bad.
Didn't he come home to Cleveland and become like a tight end or some shit? What's he doing now? Is he still in the league?
Agent?
He's a free agent, so that means unemployed. He's collecting benefits right now.
Probably speaking at high school.
I don't know. Have you ever heard Terrell Pryor talk? He's probably not talking. Troy, maybe. Braxton, maybe. Terrell, not so much.
Yeah, no, I haven't. I don't know anything about that.
So, I don't know.
What's the inadverts? We got any inadverts?
You're cutting in and out, man.
What about Big Hoss? What the hell was his name?
Who, Krenzel?
Oh, yeah, no, it's getting a little choppy on my hand, too.
Oh, no.
Big Hoss.
What the hell was his name? You fucking... Oh, God, I'm brain farting.
Were you talking football?
Are we still talking OSU quarterbacks?
Yeah.
Barrett?
Champion.
Cardale?
No, yeah, he's talking
Cardale!
about,
There it is.
I ain't come here to play school. He's a backup quarterback for the Bills. I think the Bills drafted him.
Listen, he wasn't doing that bad when he was playing for a second. I don't know what he did. Listen, you know better than I.
He's probably got more playing time in the NFL than any of our other quarterbacks.
That's probably true.
Ohio State doesn't know quarterbacks.
I'll give you that. That's fair.
Ohio State probably doesn't know the dick that the quarterback would kick him in.
But that's because Ohio State's style of offense over the last 2 decades hasn't been something that the pros want, right? Because they are largely.
You know what?
Recently, they've been a spread option team. They've been a zone read team, and there's not a ton of zone read being run in the NFL because the speed differential isn't in the NFL. Like the reason why zone read and option works in high school and college is if you have one dude, right? Exactly. If you've got,
it's a matter of who we're exploiting this play.
Right.
Well,
the quarterback will be able to outrun a defensive end 9 times out of 10 in high school and college football.
Well, that was
if you're running that kind of offense. Go ahead, Matt. Sorry.
Urban Meyer brought that to Ohio State. I mean, it was smash mouth Big Ten football before Urban Meyer.
Kinda.
He brought that speed aspect. He
did.
Plays it a little bit.
He brought that run and gun option.
That leather helmet style of football.
Right. Win every game 7-3, 10-3.
right.
That's my kind of football. I love that shit.
Fuck that.
How many games did they win that year heading to the 2003 national title? How many games did they win by 7 points or less that season? Like half of them.
When's the last time they won the national championship?
It's been a minute.
Right before
2002. Yeah, sorry. What, before Tressel or before Urban?
Meyer.
Yeah, Tressel I hated because he played it safe too much.
He did.
He never put his dick on the table.
He never had to, though. He liked winning close games.
If he weren't for good kickers, he would have lost a lot of fucking games.
Right, but he recruited good kickers.
Fair point.
Nugent.
Fuck all that past shit. How many Ohio State boys went into the draft this year?
That's what we started off with, man. 3. Chase Young got, Burrows, who's not technically Ohio State, but he was at Ohio State to start his career. Chase Young, and then corner, fuck. I don't remember a kid's name.
What is it?
Okuda.
No. What about my boy to the Raiders?
Yeah. Damon Arnett.
What are you talking about?
Well, that was further down. I didn't pay attention. Honestly, I didn't pay attention to the draft at all because the Bills had no first-round picks.
Fuck the Bills.
Fuck you.
What are you all hyping on the damn Bills for?
Fuck the Bills, first of all.
Browns,
Second of all, fuck the Bills.
Haters. Melissa, you hear that? Don't send Cliff any of the CBD shit.
Well, I still haven't tried it.
Oh, you haven't tried the wings?
It's gonna be bad for I get to try it.
I mean, I'm heading there next. I think we were talking about doing it last weekend, and we just didn't get around to it.
Where you going?
The wings? I'm making my own wings, is what I meant. I'm making our Franks with a PH. Wings.
Ironically enough, I'm sitting here waiting on fucking B-dubs right now.
Oh, there you go.
No, not there you go. Like, I've been saying this forever. Why am I paying $10 for fucking, 8 wings?
Yeah, no shit.
When, I can make better ones here at home.
Well, I recommend getting an air fryer. We had this conversation a couple weeks ago. The air fryer wings are phenomenal. You just got to get them going.
right. Just a tad bit healthier, not too much.
Right, but honestly, the only reason the air fryer is great because it gets them crispy without frying them. That's basically what it comes down to.
And if you can cut that kind of stuff out, like I went on a low carb diet for since I don't know, what is it, February. I've fallen off a bit here since the shit went lockdown. You know, it's just easier to fucking eat whatever.
That's twice Matt's brought it up. Just want to throw that out there. One more strike, we're muting him.
All right.
Damn it. Anywho. No, I lost like 25 pounds doing that, man. No carbonate, you know.
I mean, that shit worked for me at first.
Yeah, no, at first it seemed to have plateaued.
Yeah, it does. It plateaus quickly, and when you get there, it's hard. But
are you talking carbs?
Yeah.
Are we talking carbs?
I'm talking these carbs, which are my favorite.
Right. These carbs. This goddamn thing.
Goodness gracious. I didn't know if y'all was talking hips or busts or what. What's going on with some inadvertency?
So I think that's, well, what did we start with? Did we start with that? There? We talked about the draft a little bit.
No, you had on deck an inadvertent thought.
All right,
I didn't even know if I had it.
Well, I've got one that maybe can serve as a little bit of a jump off point. So do either of you have one before I jump into that one?
My food just showed up, so I'm gonna pause myself here.
All right. What about you? You got any inadvertent thoughts this week, Cliff, before I jump into mine?
I'm talking shit, and I don't think I do. I thought I had some shit wrote down. Nope.
Nada?
No.
So
no, I did have, no, I didn't.
I had, no, I didn't. No, I didn't.
Yeah, no, I don't. No inadvertence.
None?
Nah.
All right, so what I was going to jump into was I watched the first episode of Happy on your guys' recommendation. It's not for me.
It's not.
It's not. It's a little too much out there. It's a little too Alice in Wonderland-y. Like, I feel like if I was on certain mind-altering substances, it might be better. But I watched it on Saturday night. Ended up having the TV to myself. It's just like the introduction. You guys told me if I didn't like it.
In the ambulance.
Yeah.
That's where it ends.
And you guys basically told me if I didn't like it after the first 15, I wasn't gonna like it. I watched the whole episode. I might give the second episode a watch, but at that point, it got to a point in the night where I was like, you know what? I'd rather play video games right now. If she's gonna be upstairs doing her own thing,
right? You can't
this isn't gonna be. I'm not wasting it on this.
Right.
Now, what I will say is that's my jump off for my inadvertent thought, though, because my inadvertent thought, and I heard that maybe you find out more about his backstory later, Christopher Maloney's backstory, like later in the season. But I started imagining in my head, like, how'd Stabler get to this point in his life? Because when he left SVU, Christopher Maloney, Detective Stabler,
right,
he had shot a little girl. It was an accidental shooting, but it happened in the station. And the next season was that he left. So they basically said that, like, that fucked him up in the head. He couldn't do it anymore, so he left the force. Before that, he was already having problems with his wife in the show. And so it made sense to me that, like, he would become kind of a drunk. He still has that detective background.
Right.
And so that was my headcanon in terms of it really was Stabler and Happy.
Yeah, I wasn't that well versed in SVU enough but I see that though.
Right?
I wish more real cops would spin off like that after they kill somebody. That's what I will say about the situation.
You know? I don't know. I mean, really what happens is today, I mean, real world, cops go back to doing the same thing until they kill another person.
Yeah, no. We won't go there. But Maloney.
I do like Christopher Maloney.
I mean, I think... Doesn't he have another show that's out, though?
What do you mean?
Beside Happy and
I mean, he was in the most like a couple years ago.
They said the thing about SVU coming back, but
no, a couple years ago he was in Wet Hot American Summer. He's like the chef in there.
But in there, I thought there was a new show that he had or something.
I don't know.
Aside from this Happy. Could be, or it could be that I'm just thinking. The only reason why I brought it up is because I'm wondering if, you know how they say people usually play characters.
Yeah, once they get typecast, they're kind of stuck with that character.
I don't even think
I've seen that guy play cameos.
I don't even think that I would peg him for that. I was just more so thinking, are you Denzel in it? Like playing characters that you see yourself in, you know what I mean? Because you got to think, even Stabler.
Yeah. Stabler
from
is
Law and Order.
It says that there's going to be an SVU spinoff.
Was a little unhinged, you know what I mean?
He was a little bit.
So
I mean,
he probably
unhinged
brought a
to an
little bit of
extent
that to the character.
Yeah.
You said what?
You know what I mean?
Yes, he brought a little bit of that to the character himself. Like that's Christopher Maloney showing up in Stabler in terms of the unhinged.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right. I swear there's another show.
I mean, I never watched that Law and Order stuff, but I've seen clips and shit. You know, I've seen, from just the clips. Like he's not your average.
Law and Order?
Yeah, I mean, Law and Order is one of those things that you either like it or you don't. And I could sit and watch an SVU marathon all weekend if it was on, especially back in the day with Stabler.
Too many of them.
No, I'm with you. I never watched anything but SVU though. Like I'm with you, but that was the only one I watched.
SVU Hawaii, SVU, Las Vegas. Like, what the hell?
The Law and Orders, yeah.
Yeah, well, they made one successful Law and Order, and they just went crazy with it.
I think you're mixing up CSI.
Right, CSI and Law and Order.
Because Law and Order, I think there are only two main series.
Am I?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, CSI Miami, CSI Las Vegas. But it's, it's all the same.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you're all good. I mean, it's all the same procedural shit. Law and Order was really what kind of kicked off the procedural.
Read the title. As far as I'm concerned,
I don't pay that much
there's 4
attention
Law and
to it.
Orders. In the
Wait. Watching Dark Matter per Mike's recommendation. Still Dark Matter.
I feel like I've heard of it
I
before.
don't know that one.
I'm blanking on Dark Matter. But he says, still love you, Cliff, but I hope a fly goes in your beer for putting down my team. Talking about the Bills. That was Uncle Greg.
I love you. And even if a fly went in here, I'd drink it.
Cheers.
Good protein.
Bills drank a fly in the first round. B-Flow for life.
And then we went and got a fucking defensive end in the second round. Like, our defense is the problem. We have one of the worst rated offenses in the league. And we decided to get a fucking defensive lineman in the second. That's dumb. Sorry, I was just looking up the draft.
Where'd you
and
guys
seeing what
finish
was
out
going
end of
on.
last year?
I mean, we made the playoffs.
Okay, better than the Browns.
Still the second in our league behind the Pats, although now that Brady's gone, the Bills should be the best team in the AFC East. By far. All right, so anybody else have anything like around that kind of thought? Like any kind of shows that aren't really connected that you think about, like, what if they were connected and the character was really a crossover character? The other one that I was thinking about the other day was Gary Bertier from Remember the Titans. In The Walking Dead, he's playing like the leader now of the Whispers, which is kind of like the new bad guy faction in The Walking Dead. I'm like,
really?
Man, Bertier's life went downhill quick.
Peggy Bundy
show,
in
man.
Sons
When
of
they
Anarchy
started
was always
beating people in the head with baseball bats.
I thought of.
What was one you thought of, Cliff?
Peggy Bundy in the from Married with Children in the Sons of Anarchy.
Is she in that?
Yeah.
We've had this conversation. I didn't watch Sons of Anarchy.
You even
it
brought
makes
it up before the podcast.
It makes perfect sense though, because how the fuck would he afford a mortgage off a shoe salesman job? Like, he was in the mall. You feel what I'm saying?
I feel you.
She had to have
I mean,
meth
he
in her
wasn't living in
tits.
Beverly Hills.
You had to have meth on her tits.
Meth in her tits. Listen.
Listen.
She's running shit out of the back of the house is all I got to say.
That's what you're thinking?
That's
I can
what
see
I
that.
know. That's what I know.
So I've got another fun
Period.
one. We got another fun one. What's his name? Luis Guzman. He's the Hispanic dude. He's in Waiting. He's the one that teaches the kid about the goat.
Okay.
He also ends up in Shameless as a homeless person.
I didn't see that.
Those two all connect.
Yeah, that's the same.
He was also in
movie.
Anger Management.
Yes, he's been in a bunch
I
of
thought that was
shit.
a little bit of a crossover.
Yeah, I can see that.
He was in Carlito's
That was
Way.
him down the road away.
So I feel like it's all the same. We're all talking about the same character here.
What about you, Matt? You got anything?
I mean, I brought up the Jack Ryan one, but that's like, I don't know,
Who's
kind of
Jack
directly
Ryan?
correlated from all those movies back in the 90s.
Yeah. Harrison Harrison Ford?
Harrison Ford, yeah. I mean, so there was a character called Jack Ryan and a bunch of like, what the hell was
Like the
Like,
movie, like that
Executive
they came out
Decision.
with.
No, not Executive Decision. Patriot Games, that was
Yeah.
one of them. Yeah, they were all like Tom Clancy novels that they turned into movies.
Makes sense.
And they always had, James Ryan, or Jack Ryan, I'm sorry, as the head character, the lead character of it. But, they weren't directly tied together. All the movies were kind of independent.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, I mean, but that's like, I don't know. I don't know if that correlates completely to what you guys are talking about.
That's all right.
What about I don't know names. Californication and X-Files.
With David Duchovny.
Same character.
Which one takes place? Who's first? Which one comes first, though?
Well, I think Californication is the prelude.
The prelude to X Files.
He was like, "These crazy bitches, I'm fucking. What is going on?" And then came
from outer space.
Scully, Mulder.
We're gonna
Mulder, Scully.
Mulder. Scully was the woman on X Files, right?
Then came
Yeah,
Scully.
yeah.
Then came Scully.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna
That's
see.
funny. I was thinking it was going the other way.
No.
Chronologically, like he left the
He left the FBI and
You got a lot to
Needed
learn
a
about me,
producer.
friend.
the problem is that Cliff might be right just because X Files came back for half a season.
What the hell happened to Scully, man? Like her whole face just like elongated.
Wait, did it? I haven't seen her.
She X Files came back like a year or two ago for like
Something like that.
for like a limited
Total
run.
flop.
It was only like 8 episodes.
Yeah,
Where'd it come?
it
What
was flop.
channel?
I think it was Fox and Hulu.
No, they had a good thing back in the 90s, and they should have just let it go.
Right. Well, you say that, but then they had 2 movies after the series too, didn't they?
Yeah, no, the first movie was actually pretty good. Okay, so it ran a little bit into the 2000s. But then it was like, okay, like you guys have, you've done it. We
Kind
get
of
it.
worn it out. What other show should have ended faster than they did?
Nah, fuck shows ending faster than they did. I'm trying to think of other
Other crossovers?
Mm-hmm.
My other one is
What about Reading Rainbow and Star Trek?
Jordan, but Reading Rainbow is a non-fiction show, Cliff.
So is Star Trek. Right?
Take a look.
Far,
in
far
the book.
away. In the galaxy, far,
No, that's
far
Star Wars.
Oh.
Speaking of Star Wars, though, Clone Wars is wrapping up here on Disney Plus.
Is that the
Cartoon?
The animated
Okay.
one?
Yeah.
Oh.
So they came
I
back.
I
never
saw
got
the
into it.
title of it, but I'm not gonna.
Right. No,
Was
so
it good?
I don't think it was worth it coming back. So they had 6 seasons. This was the 7th season coming out, I think, like almost 10 years after the series ended.
This is on regular TV that they show these? Or
No,
like
this
a
was Disney
direct-
Plus.
Okay. All of them are?
They are now, yeah.
I'm saying
Clone
like-
Wars originally started on Cartoon Network.
Okay.
But this latest series or this latest season went directly to Disney Plus. I mean, honestly, like the first half the season or more, just it felt filler, and it's like, so why bring it back after 10 years if all you're gonna do is make it filler?
Money.
But then the last 2 episodes have kind of really hooked in, so it hooks into what is it, Revenge of the Sith and Order 66 when they wipe out all the Jedi. Like, there's a lot of tie-ins in these last 2 or 3 episodes. They kind of show you like how Darth Maul's still alive and how really depending who you talk to, the lead character in Clone Wars, it's Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then Ahsoka Tano, who was just a character that they introduced in the cartoon. And it's really about just wrapping up her arc because she kind of disappears after that.
You know, I don't know anything about that.
But I mean, it was a good watch, and it's something like I can watch with the kids. So it's been good. But
I only caught a couple of clips of it.
I mean,
it looked like it was an alright show for being an animated version of it.
If you're a Star Wars fan, it's a great watch. I wouldn't say all of it is. Like 7 seasons is a lot to get through, and I want to say they're like 23 episode seasons. Yeah. But they're 20 minute or 30-minute episodes.
Oh, it's like a morning show.
Yeah, I think for the most part because it's a little darker, a little more.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I would say it's darker than a morning show. Like, I think when it aired on Cartoon Network, it was like a 10 p.m. kind of show. So not quite their, like, animation domination with, like, Family Guy and all that shit. But same kind of later, like, meant for older kids or adults.
Okay.
But if you're a Star Wars fan, it's great. It actually builds on, like, the story of the Force, and it fills in a lot of gaps, like, yeah, episode 2 is called Attack of the Clones, and then Revenge of the Sith wraps up, like, supposedly, I think it's like 5 years later, 6 years later. This is basically the 5 years in between is the cartoon series.
Well,
so.
Watching Mandalorian actually got me looking into that because apparently it ties together parts of the story.
Yes, if it has, honestly, Rebels probably ties in more to Mandalorian in terms of the end, that last episode of Mandalorian where they reveal the Darksaber. A lot of that shows up in Rebels and in Clone Wars. So if that interests you, I'd go back and watch like specific episodes from the Clone Wars around the Mandalorian arc.
Well, I did. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I went back and like clip watched a couple of things. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, it's a little too early for my bathroom break.
So let's circle back.
Right.
All right, no. All right, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Finish your thought, of course.
You might have to take an early bathroom break because I'm wondering what's the deal with Mandalorian.
What do you mean? What's the deal with Mandalorian?
I mean, when's the next season coming out?
I think they've said fall this year, but that was before everything kind of went on pause. Although
I think
you're about to get muted.
Yeah. I think I said before everything stopped with Mandalorian. I actually think they finished shooting Mandalorian. I think it's in post right now.
I was going to say, yeah, like they probably got it all in the can already.
At least I hope so.
That's not a cartoon, though.
No, Mandalorian's live action.
Okay.
Which it's probably
way it should be.
It's probably the most Star Wars thing that Disney's done.
Have you ever seen that guy before? You guys watch Breaking Bad at all?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So the guy that played Gustavo Fring, comes into Mandalorian as this new Sith guy. Have you ever seen him before either of these?
No. So
wait, who's that?
Gus.
Where the fuck did this guy come from?
Is that the Chicken Shack guy? The drug
Yeah. The guy who owns the El Pollo Loco.
Fresh. He was in
Los Pollos
what's the
Hermanos.
old it's a Spike Lee joint, I believe. Damn, what else is he in? Yeah, he's we know him.
No, he's kind of like Morgan Freeman in this thing.
Yeah, we
came
know
out of
him.
nowhere in his like 50s.
Yeah, no, he was out back in the day.
So Cliff's saying he's been in other stuff that the African American culture is more aware of than white folks.
Know. He's been he was the one dude.
The one dude in that one thing. Yeah, that.
I like him. He's a good actor. I like him.
What movie is that? Where
done.
he's the old Hispanic dad.
I have no idea. Because I'm with Matt. Like, those are the only two things I can think of him in.
I can think of at least 5 things. I just don't know.
Well,
the
I mean,
names of them.
same deal as Morgan Freeman too. I mean, he was on Broadway for fucking like a decade before he made his break in like Driving Miss Daisy. He was 48 or some shit.
Nah, that's a good call.
Mm-hmm. Look at you.
And that's why that guy is that's why that guy is timeless. At least he you know, they say black don't crack. But that
it's
guy
true.
looks the same age for fucking ever, man.
In most cases, it's true.
Give me an example where it's not true.
Chilla coffee.
I mean, I would say it about that old neighbor behind us. But I think he was 97, so still cutting grass.
But you know what? Even Chilla coffee's a melting pot.
Yeah, you're right. They're melting stuff. That's for sure. Is that melting spelled METHING?
That's both ways. With the SCH in front of it.
Method.
All of that.
Oh, man.
All of it. Inadvertent. Who got another?
That was my big one. I don't know. Was there any other crossover one that you could think of?
What did we say?
So I think you said, what was it, Peg Bundy into Sons of Anarchy.
Okay.
The whole thing started off with Stabler becoming the detective in Happy.
Right.
I said Gary Bertier in Walking Dead. Gary Bertier in Sons of Anarchy is probably another good pool.
See,
I brought up Luis Guzman.
Oh, in Sons of Anarchy, yeah. I did see that. I'm tripping.
Who else?
What about Raven Simone from the Cosby Show?
And that's so Raven.
Right.
How'd she get from there to
the new Raven now? The next generation. The next Raven. It's been 20 years and 20 pounds.
My other favorite one
kicking.
from back in the day was Fred Savage from the Wonder Years. Him showing up on Boy Meets World as kind of like a creepy teacher who was hitting on kids or hitting on students.
Wait, back up. What?
Fred Savage from the Wonder Years, right? His little brother.
I'm gonna have to Google this guy, Fred Savage.
Fred Savage.
I watched a lot of Boy Meets World growing up.
Well, you know
that's Ben Savage.
Ben Savage is his
Boy
younger
Meets
brother who's in Boy Meets World.
Fred Savage.
But Fred Savage shows up in one episode of Boy Meets World as like a creepy teacher.
Come on, Matthew.
I'm sorry, I'm not hip to this.
You don't remember Wonder Years? Dude, I felt like that was almost before my time.
That was not my bag.
That's all right. All right, if it's not your bag,
I'm
it's
only
not your bag.
1 year older than you, man. Not even probably
Wonder
4 years.
Years, though. I thought.
Right. I thought all white people knew that. I mean, it sounds like Cliff even knew it.
Guy. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I liked Wonder Years.
With what was it, Wendy?
Buzz
as a kid.
and
Buzz.
Wasn't it Buzz? Wasn't his brother Buzz?
I think so.
Have you seen that guy as an adult?
Everyone
He looks
mixing.
nothing like he did when he was a kid.
Who did, Buzz
Fred Savage.
or Fred Savage?
Fred Savage. Like, I just saw the
Yeah,
side by
that's the
side of him as a
mole
kid and
from
him as an
Buffalo.
adult. He has changed completely. I would not recognize him on the street, but I recognize him as a kid.
Gotcha.
That's how it is with the dude from A Christmas Story.
Oh, yeah. I think those are always funny to see you won't recognize them now.
Right.
Number
Right.
10 will amaze
Macaulay
you.
Culkin.
What's that Christmas movie with Reese Witherspoon and Vince Vaughn? Four Christmases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the airline, the person that sells him the tickets.
Is he really?
Ralphie from the Christmas Story. The old man at the front desk is the one. That's Ralphie.
Well, see, and there you go. Ralphie is a.
Oh, but I thought we was talking TV shows though.
I said it could be
Flew right
TVs
by
or
me.
movies.
Okay. But what about Fresh Prince to Enemy of the State What the fuck did he do?
You talking about Will?
Just being black. DWB.
So Cliff is saying
that,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was saying Cliff said that Will Smith from Fresh Prince, his character in Fresh Prince, is the same one that shows up in Enemy of the State. I like that one. I like that one.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
And then Topper. And then he's the one with the where he gets with the white girl.
Wait, which one?
The magician.
I missed what you let in with there.
What's he? He was the scammer.
What show? What are we talking about? I said
We're
I missed
still
what
on
you said.
Will Smith, Enemy of the State.
Oh, okay.
But what's the one where he was the scammer?
Oh, with Margot Robbie?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't remember what
Can't
that
think
was
of the
called.
name.
I never watched it, but I remember seeing it.
So 3. He goes 3.
All right, there you go.
Meanwhile, he's Bad Boys undercover like this guy here.
Don't look at it.
Right.
Don't look at it. Goddamn.
You like how he's moved the camera up so you can't see the license plate on it anymore.
Yeah, we're changing angles, motherfucker.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, that is it. What was it called?
So
Focus.
Focus.
Gotcha. Fresh Prince.
Yeah,
Enemy of the State. Focus.
All 3 of them, huh? All the same guy?
Ooh, what about Denzel? It's all the same movie.
I'm going to have to disagree there. Come on now. Fresh Prince to Enemy of the State.
Yeah, what he did.
Like
he didn't do anything wrong in Enemy of the State. He just ended up being in the wrong place at the wrong time. He was a successful dude.
But a true nigga story.
It's completely different. Yeah, I mean, he's a young kid trying to make it in like Beverly Hills at Fresh Prince, and then he
made it
in Enemy of the State.
And they was wondering why the hell was you in Beverly Hills?
Well, of course he would move back to Philly. Like that's where he was from. He went to college. Okay. He became a lawyer. Yeah, he moved back to Philly, and then some shit went down in Enemy of the State.
Oh, okay. I'm feeling the connection and going back to what we were talking about. All right.
He left Bel Air. Right. He went to school probably out west. When he graduated, he decided he wanted to move back to Philly. Right? He wanted to move back to Philly to be a lawyer back at home.
He released a whole bunch of niggas from jail like Kim Kardashian.
Right. He hooked up with
about it. They said, "Nigga, we watching you." He said, "Prove it."
But the whole
Enemy of the State.
But the whole thing with that was that he didn't do anything in Enemy of the State. The dude slipped him the tape, and his life got fucked for being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Or did he?
What do you mean, or did he? No, that's the whole plot of the movie.
Didn't M. Night Shyamalan write that bitch?
I don't know.
No, he didn't write that bitch. But did he?
And wait. So what was the third correlation?
I think he said Focus, which I don't know that I've seen Focus. So how does he go from Enemy of the State?
I don't know the plot on that.
Well, all right. So I will recap where Enemy of the State ends. Enemy of the State ends where he basically forces there to be a shootout between the FBI and the mob, and he kind of walks away, and like his part in the story is done. And we assume he goes back home to his wife and kids.
And what was Focus about?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
You've never seen it?
I've never seen it.
Oh, it's about the misdirect. It's about me doing this here, but really I'm taking your wallet here.
Okay.
It's about me.
So what character does he play in that?
The same one. Him.
He plays Will Smith because that's all Will Smith plays.
He's misdirect. That's why it's a.
What?
Listen, I'm a genius.
Okay, no, Will Smith was typecast as either like a military guy or a cop for a long time.
That's true.
So all the fans that are listening that aren't familiar.
We've burned out all our fans. They're all gone now.
Oh, they were gone after the first 15. First 15, they were like, yep, this episode isn't for me, click.
Right. They're not talking coronavirus.
All the fans that will be listening.
On the replay.
Fresh Prince, Enemy of the State, Focus. Watch them in that order, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
I like it.
And I'm a genius.
So, Matt, do you
Did we seriously lose all of our live feeds?
Nah, we still got a couple. It looks like.
Yeah, Rita and Dan.
Yeah, probably. So the other one, I think that's been the best example. I think the one you just pulled was the best example of what I was trying to go for. So, Matt, hearing Cliff's example with Will Smith here, did that trigger anything in terms of, so since we're talking like movies and all of that, which movies have characters that would cross over from one to the next? Or could be the same character just in different events in their life? Denzel's a good one, I think. But I feel like...
I mean, I'm sure I could come up with some if I had enough time.
Yeah.
But at the moment, nah.
Maybe we'll see if we can revisit this one at some point.
I'm gonna quadruple jump into a king me like a checkers board.
What do you got?
We're gonna go...
This I gotta hear now.
Quadruple jumping.
We're gonna go Johnny Depp Crybaby to Edward Scissorhands.
Oh shit.
We're gonna go from the Scissorhands to an easy connection in Sweeney Todd.
Agreed. I could track that one.
Off to a mind-boggling
Captain
Pirates
Jack
of
Sparrow.
And fools fucking agree! And they agree! And fools fucking agree! That's what I'm talking about!
But why is the rum gone?
Listen, that's how you do that shit.
I don't know how Sweeney Todd ends. I'd like to hear how that gets him to Captain Jack Sparrow.
I don't know. I just figured that'd be a wild... What? I mean, but once females have kids, they cut their hair real short, and then they looked at themselves in the mirror and they say, "Why the fuck did I cut my hair short?" And then that's when they grow it down their backs like a pirate.
If you could tie like What's Eating Gilbert Grape into that, I'd be impressed.
Ooh, I wish I would have remembered that. Actually, I don't think that would have been too given. Crybaby to Gilbert Grape, but then I might have had to switch to DiCaprio. I'd have had to go Johnny Depp to DiCaprio.
I actually think Leonardo DiCaprio survived in Titanic as Jack. And that's
Captain
who actually...
Jack Sparrow.
No,
listen.
Leonardo DiCaprio in Titanic survives, and that's who Tom Hanks is chasing in Catch Me If You Can.
Who turns into...
There's like a
The Wolf of Wall Street.
Tom Hanks from Castaway turns into...
Forrest Gump. You can't do that.
No, that's going back in time.
What?
From Pirates of the Caribbean.
No, we're not changing Tom
Hanks.
Hanks.
The guy that couldn't walk on land.
That's changing characters. That's
changing actors. You broke the rules, Cliff.
I thought you did that first.
No, I was saying I was changing Tom.
How did we get to Tom Hanks then?
Because I was changing. I went from where you did with Johnny Depp. I jumped to Leonardo DiCaprio because you brought up DiCaprio. I said DiCaprio in Titanic didn't actually die. He survived.
Okay.
And that's who Tom Hanks is after in Catch Me If You Can.
But there's a 40-year gap there.
No, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Tax evasion. It makes sense. Okay.
What else?
So where was Tom... Leave me.
Well, I don't think we've done one for Tom Hanks. What can we do for Tom Hanks?
I think I did it. And I think you should rewind and listen. And it may all make sense.
But you changed Tom Hanks to a different... Hanks is not in Pirates of the Caribbean.
I'm not saying that the treasure map won't get you to the gold. Just flip it upside down. Huh?
Nah, hard. Keanu Reeves. I know we can tie Keanu Reeves together.
Speed 1, 2, and 3. We're done. Speed 1, 2, and 3. Yeah,
Speed actually takes place in the Matrix.
I got it.
Right.
Now we're talking.
This is all of these possible.
I think you broke up a little there, Matt.
The Matrix makes all connections possible.
That's right. It all happens in the Matrix.
This is what directors get paid to do. 12 hours a day.
How can we create our own cinematic universe from existing movies? I mean, Pixar's supposedly been doing it. Supposedly all the Pixar movies are connected.
I tell you
in
what,
the same timeline.
I can't tell
This
you
is the
how,
problem.
but I can tell you what y'all can do. Started Star Wars. I gotta use the bathroom.
Take it back there. No, this is my gripe. You know, like
What you got?
Just what we're talking about here is that Hollywood has run out of ideas, and they just kind of keep recycling the same old shit.
Yeah, Cliff's been on that tip before. I agree to an extent. I think there are way too many reboots and refreshes. I think what I find acceptable is when it is... I don't like the concept of a straight-up reboot, but I like the requel in the sense of it takes place...
The reimagining. Reimagining is good.
I think what Star Wars tried to do was the right approach in the sense of you keep it in the same timeline, the same universe, and make it 20 years later. And some of your original characters can come back.
Star Trek did it better.
I think I like the way Star Trek did it because they did it in a Star Trek way in terms of you introduced time travel, which meant that yes, you could branch and have a different timeline.
You can rewrite the whole story.
Yep. So I appreciate it when they at least give an explanation like that. But I think my problem with the Star Trek reboots was that it went too action adventure-y. I was always more a fan of kind of the political discourse and then the action.
Right.
When it came to Star Trek.
They brought in I don't even know who the fucking director was.
They brought in JJ. They brought in JJ Abrams, who went on to go do Star Wars.
I mean, JJ Abrams or fucking James Gunn.
The
guy that did who did the first Transformers movie and
Michael Bay.
Michael Bay, yeah, they went Michael Bay with it.
Agreed. And that's what I didn't like about it.
Yeah. Hollywood got their fucking greasy fingers into it.
Right. Well, I mean, that's the thing is that I think actually the Transformers is an interesting one just because I thought I liked the first one that Michael Bay did, and then it went over the top from there. But then
the second one was okay.
It was okay. There was a lot of racist overtones in.
Oh yeah, there were. Yeah, the fucking ice cream trucks.
Yes, the ice cream trucks.
What the hell?
But that's Michael Bay. He's a racist prick. But he did Bad Boys too. So he did Bad Boys.
So he gets a pass.
I guess he gets a pass because
that makes sense.
But honestly, since the first Transformers, the best one was Bumblebee. Bumblebee was pretty solid. Like it felt more like the '80s cartoon.
I don't know. I
I
didn't watch that one. All I watched was 1, 2. I watched 3 regrettingly, and I was done after that.
Yeah, 3 was probably the last one I really watched. 4 was awful. Did they do 5? I don't know, but Bumblebee is actually solid because Bumblebee isn't Michael Bay. It's
they brought in what's his name, the wrestler guy. Like as soon as what's his
John
name,
Cena,
Shia LaBeouf, went on a bender and never came back.
Yeah, they went from Shia to Mark Wahlberg, and then from Mark Wahlberg, they brought in John Cena, but John Cena's role in Bumblebee was actually pretty small. It really centers around Haley Steinfeld. Like, it's kind of that boy and his dog kind of thing, and it's Haley Steinfeld, like, finds Bumblebee, and, like, she and Bumblebee are, like, friends.
Isn't that every...
I mean, they all get like that, I hear you, but this one was good from the sense that it starts off like something out of the 80s cartoon, and it finishes like something out of the 80s cartoon. The story in the middle is it's just better than what Michael Bay was doing. It's not quite as over the top.
Who did that one?
Dude who did Kubo and the Two Strings, and I'm blanking on his name. Travis.
M. Night Shyamalan.
No, it's Travis something or other.
did it have a nice
Bing Bang.
But I'm with you. I mean, I think that they have been doing a lot of reboots. The problem is that when fresh stuff comes out, nobody goes and sees it.
Well, fresh stuff does come out. It just comes out in like the Aspen Film Festival, and it's always independent.
Agreed. Travis Knight, by the way, was the one that did Bumblebee.
Travis Knight. I don't even know who that is.
M.
What's
Travis
something else he
Knight.
might have done that I might have seen?
Those are not the same people.
Shamalama.
Fools do not agree on that.
No.
I'm trying to think of like other.
M. Night Shyamalan is probably the most disappointing director of all time. Like he has such great build-up, such amazing like possibilities, and then it just flops.
Stop it! You stop in your tracks. Don't be hating.
Which one? All right, let's hear it then. M. Night.
Okay. Signs was a fucking disappointing ending. Okay. What was that one where everybody got suicidal because of pheromones that come off the trees?
The Happening.
That was fucking disappointing. The Village.
I actually thought The Village was okay. I actually thought The Village was
alright.
alright.
I liked it right up until she hopped outside the fence, and it's I've been inside this park.
I didn't know that all those were Shyamalan.
Yeah, those are all.
Yeah, man. I like the premise right up till the climax. And then I just fucking
he made his best thing first. He fucked up.
Sixth Sense?
He saved the Big Bang for the last.
Are you talking
Sheldon taught you that.
I don't know. A lot of people like Unbreakable and what is it? Unbreakable, Split, and Glass. I've never watched those three. Yeah, no. Unbreakable, Split, and Glass.
Okay, I'll give him props for that one.
Yeah. Those three are all the same story. That's a trilogy.
Never seen
Yeah,
Split or Glass,
right. That's based on, is that DC or is that...
I don't know. I actually haven't seen any of those.
Book.
Goodness
gracious. It's gotta be.
Well, I know they're superheroes, but I don't know if it's just an alternate take or if they're actually based on real comics.
I would be surprised based on the premise of the movie that it's not based on something.
There's a lot of shit in the comics that don't ever make it to the big screen. I wouldn't doubt it. And these people aren't, M. Night is. Supposed to say, these people
otherwise Disney would have bought it by now.
Imaginative or creative.
Well,
they're just remaking shit that's been made before.
The problem is,
I feel like M. Night tries at least.
It all comes back to the studio system, though. Like, if you're going to spend $250 million to make a film, you're going to want it to make $500 million, $1 billion. And so they want to go with surefire things that they know will get made.
Actually, that's weird as hell you brought that up. I have this new version of Amazon Fire Stick, the Kodi hack.
Yeah.
That allows me to, basically watch any movie you want. And this new version that I downloaded, because you got to re-download it every 6 months because they shut it down. And you gotta, fix it and re-download. So this new version I got, actually, when you pull up any movie, has the stats at the top of it. So how much money it took to produce, how much money it made.
Okay.
And it's interesting because some of the movies where you're just like, I can't believe they spent that little to make this movie and how much money it made. And I'm constantly surprised by it.
Well, I think that was the big thing about the Joker. Was the Joker cost like $65 million to make and it made $1 billion worldwide.
Right? And that's what I'm talking about. Like Blair Witch cost like $50,000 to make.
Right.
Like $150 million.
That's when the game got changed to Blair Witch. And there
was and Blumhouse does that a lot. So Blumhouse is the one that does like they did like are they the ones that did? I think they did like Happy Death Day. They do a lot of horror films, but all their horror movies are like $10 million budgets, and they all make close to $100 million.
Really?
So then there's some like real high budget stuff. Where you if you didn't see the numbers, you wouldn't believe it.
Oh, no doubt.
Whereas like some like Enemy of the State, they cost $100 million to make it, and they only made 120.
Right. Well, and that's usually not including...
I don't know if that's exact, but I mean, I've seen a couple on there where I was like, really?
Yeah.
That's all you made on that?
Well, the thing is, too, is that's usually just the production budget. When you get into the marketing budget, the marketing's usually the same as, like, it's an additional, at least 50% of the production budget, usually, to sell it.
And that's not DVD sales or any of that.
No, it's usually just box office.
Which, all right, I'm about to get muted. But AMC's done after this shit.
Yeah, I've heard that too. Movie theaters will be out of business. It'll be the studios. It'll be top to bottom. Studios will own the vertical chain. They will own the production. They will
It'll be
own the
straight to-
distribution. They will own the movie theaters that they get shown in, etc. You're going to be going to a Disney
Not
theater.
even movie. I think
not an
movie theaters
AMC
are going to
theater.
become a thing of the past. And I think it's just going to be streamed straight to your home.
I think that there will always be a place for movie theaters in the sense of it's going to be a luxury experience. It's going to cost you $20 a ticket to go see it on a big screen, but it's going to come with dinner. It's going to come with dinner and a drink. No, I'm talking $20 a ticket
in a plastic bed.
right.
It already did.
I guess in some
the
parts
last time
of the
you went to
country.
the movies, man, this shit's ridiculous.
I mean, I don't think I've ever paid more than $10-12 for a ticket, even for IMAX.
Shit. Now they do got the movie, the dinner at the movies now.
Yeah, the dine-in theater.
Yeah, that's basically I went to before this all happened. It was Dine-In or was it Marcus? They got those nice recliners.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't like
that was like $14. You know,
It depends
but
on
was
which
worth
joint.
it. For me, I like the recliner, man. Like, I would never go to a normal movie theater
I'm
again.
not gonna watch a movie like that.
Cliff's going to show up at the movie theater and just pass out. I feel you on that, because I think that's what I did the last time I was in one.
Yeah, when you take your kid to like Trolls or Trolls
Right.
2. Listen, when I take my kid to the movies, I bring a pillow. That's all I'm saying.
Last time I went to the movies was before I had a kid.
Yeah,
So,
I believe it.
yeah, I feel you on that one. I could definitely see going to some, little kitty bullshit and, what am I doing here? This is a great time for a nap. Maybe that's how you get on naps.
Like
That's
pet
true.
something or something. I think it was pet something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Fuck all that.
The last time you went to a movie theater, is that what you said?
Yeah, it was with Karma. I think it was pet something.
Oh, Secret Life of Pets?
Something like that. I don't know.
With, what is it?
I actually kind of like that one. That was pretty good.
Can't agree. Who is it? Kevin Hart that plays the bunny?
Yeah.
All right. I'm a sucker for a cute Disney movie sometimes.
I understand it.
But, I mean, the by and large, I don't go to movies anyway, and I think a lot of people are getting on this kick because everybody's got home theaters, or a 50-inch fucking plasma or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you can buy a 55-inch plasma for $500 now.
And why wouldn't you want to just wait? And they're so fast on the turnaround where it's just, why not wait 3 months and I can just stream it at my house?
Right. Whereas
it used to be like when we were growing up, you had to wait a year and a half.
Bingo.
From, when it was in theaters to DVD.
That goes back to Americans have zero attention span right now. I mean, Cliff's falling asleep right now, so.
I'm up there.
Would you reach over and smack him?
I'm about to.
I hear about Americans with their zero attention spans. I hear that much.
So what we got? What else we got, man? I mean, we're about, I don't know, an hour in. What are we thinking? You've already stopped to go pee, so I'm good.
Yeah,
keep
good.
going. What else do you have for tonight?
I broke all the rules and.
Yeah, you were the one that made all this suggestion to do it this way.
I know. And then I went and wrote down, seriously, I got 15 points I want to talk about, but I can't talk about any of them because it's going to break the rules.
Well, we made it an hour. I mean, we could break the rules if we want to, unless Cliff has something better to talk about.
Well, I got some things.
What you got?
I always get some things.
That's why I'm asking you.
Today, Junior.
Okay. It was I was watching the Two Bears in One Cave podcast with Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer.
Okay.
And Tom was talking about his football days. And he was talking about how all the players on his team, him and two other linemen broke a quarterback's leg. From all hitting him at different angles, and they broke his leg. And he was saying, and he made the joke saying, and the joy that I got from breaking his leg still sticks with me.
That's mildly sadistic.
It is, but I tell you what, my buddy
right?
Don and I, I've got it on our high school highlight tape where we high-load this quarterback. We were playing Beechcroft. I went high and he went low, and you see this quarterback get broken in half. Man.
And you remember shit like that.
I mean, on purpose, or was this just it worked out that way?
It worked out that way. I mean, he was getting tripped up by the offensive lineman holding him, so he was kind of hitting the ground anyways.
I know I've talked to my boys and be like, hey, you hit him high, I hit him low, and we're gonna fuck this dude up.
I mean, I will tell you, in college, I had that agreement with my when I was playing defensive end. Was I always went high, the guy on the other side always went low.
I'm not gonna not try to fuck you up.
Right. Well, and when I was at nose guard, I was taking him chest on anyways.
I expect you to try to. I thought that was the game for me to try to not let you.
Right.
Fuck me.
My goal is for you not to get up for the next play. Now I'm not gonna do it in a dirty way, but I'm gonna fucking own you. That was always my mentality.
Dude, I stopped playing football right around freshman year, and it was because of that shit. Because I played both offense and defense before that, and I was on the receiving end of a lot of that shit. Particularly on offense, when I'm trying to guard, and dudes are like plotting on me on the other side of the line. Like, all right, we're gonna fuck this dude up.
Right.
Listen,
and I'm just like, really? That's what I'm signing up for?
I've always been relative to this size. And I was a running
Well, you're
back.
a tiny guy. You're not on the line, man.
I'm the running back.
Right, he's taking the shots.
The line
it's supposed to be protected.
when nobody makes their block.
Well, you're supposed to be fast.
Right.
Right, fast into that.
My job
into
was
that
to stand
hit.
in front of the fucking hit.
Hit the hole, son. Hit the hole. And if the hole's not fucking there, I'm
Make
hitting
something
the
happen.
guy that hits me.
Yeah.
I'm just hitting him harder.
It sucks when you're on the hole making end of that, and you got 3 people gangbanging you.
Who are you talking to, man? I was a nose guard in a 3-4 defense.
Right.
I had the center guard and guard hitting me every play.
Well, that's defense. So that's
you would know much better than I do because you did it a lot longer than I
Yeah,
did.
man, and I'm paying for it every day. Dude, I got up on Tuesday, went for a nice 3-4 mile walk. My foot is still hurting. I rolled my ankle on the walk, and it's still hurting.
That's what I'm saying. At 14, I could tell this ain't going anywhere.
Oh, no.
I ain't going pro.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Like,
although I will say,
myself.
I've got some funny one-liners from football.
I stopped at 14, and I was already 11 years in.
Yeah. See, that's why with Andrew, even I'm like, I don't want him playing until middle school. He won't play till 6th grade.
And the earliest.
You want to throw him into the meat grinder?
If he wants to play football, the rule is he's not going to play it till 6th grade.
Yeah, you gotta get a little bit of
before high school.
Right.
I want him to get a year or two in before high school.
Bit of experience before.
But he won't play it before that. Like if he wants to do flag or some other shit. No. And honestly, my big thing is I don't trust other coaches. And I don't know where I'm going to be in my coaching career when he starts playing.
Right.
Like, when you get to middle school, I feel like those are guys that are getting ready to coach high school in some cases.
Fit my pads out there on the field.
Well, I
did get
remember
MVP my first year, though.
There you go. Well, go ahead.
One of my biggest turnoffs was, like, even at 14, we started playing, there were a couple other cities around us, that just had big kids at 14 years old. These kids were like,
well, I mean, you grew up at you
pounds.
were Cleveland, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, we've scrimmage teams up there like University Heights or whatever. Like, them motherfuckers were huge.
Dude, I remember it was the year I quit. We went up against Berea, which is our next door neighbor.
Okay.
And, they had a tiny team by comparison, in terms of number of players. But every single dude on that team was a fucking monster.
My thing was...
and we walked in there, we thought, like, our 4 big guys, like me and these 3 other dudes, we thought we were big and bad and stuff. And we walked in there and got fucking demolished.
Yeah.
by these guys that were at least 50 pounds heavier than us
across
the board.
My awakening I almost quit like 3 or 4 different times, and I've ended up playing in college. But my sophomore year, so I had played both ways on the freshman team. The head coach left between my freshman year and sophomore year, the varsity head coach. He went on to Dublin Kaufman. And
Coach Connor?
No, this was high school. So this was
you were at St. Charles.
I was at SC. So it was Mark Crabtree, who's the head coach at Dublin Kaufman still today. And he had been grooming me or whatever. I'd been doing, instead of doing regular freshman gym class, I was weightlifting with like the varsity football players during gym instead of, having fun with my buddies.
Right.
And I go into...
You squat 500!
I was squatting 350 as a freshman.
God damn.
So we get to summer camp. Our center is out because he had back surgery. They put me at center versus an returning all-state nose guard.
What?
At camp. Dude, I came home so fucking black. And we didn't have pads on. This was no pads. This was summer camp. This was camp before you were allowed to get to pads and two-a-days. And I come back. I literally have this dude, his name was Mark Warren. I literally had his fucking handprint across my neck.
What color? My knuckles,
he taught me how to bull rush to the throat. Except I was on the receiving end. And yeah, man, I got home from camp that year and I almost quit. I had promised my mom that I'd do a 5K with her after I got back from camp, not knowing the camp was going to be like that. Dude, it took me almost an hour to finish a 5K. And it was the Jazz and Ribs Fest. And I told my mom I didn't want any ribs. I'm like, I don't want any food. I just want to fucking go home. I want to die. And I don't ever want to go to football again. And I had two people call me.
That was my awakening,
Yeah.
Like very similar situation, not that bad, but it was these guys are playing for fucking scholarships.
Right.
What am I playing for?
Right. I feel you, man.
Ooh, what are we gonna do?
What are you thinking?
How could we do it?
How could we do what?
I'm thinking, and we coming up with this real, what's the word? Organically.
He says over here passing out on the couch.
Let's make this shit interesting. We gotta make some shit interesting.
What do you got?
So, what are we gonna be missing within the next 2 months, possibly?
So, are we giving up on?
We're not giving up on
not talking about it.
No, we're not talking about any it.
We're just talking about what we're gonna miss.
What could we possibly be missing?
Red, White, and Boom gone. Jazz and Ribs Fest gone. Arts Festival gone. Latino Fest gone. Or what is it? Juneteenth gone.
The only thing that you named that out of all those that I can't provide is the Latin Fest.
What about Asian Fest? Isn't that one too?
You didn't name that.
Well, no, that's coming up like next week.
Yeah, it's gone then.
No, I don't think so.
But I did call out Juneteenth.
What?
How'd you like that?
You should. You should.
What other white boy would call out Juneteenth though?
That doesn't mean that you get held to the same as them. You don't. So yeah, they might get. Oh, you know about?
Can you tell us the history of Juneteenth?
You know I can tell you the history of Juneteenth. Can you tell us the history of Juneteenth?
I'm loosely aware of it, but that's about it.
I feel like
that's not actually the day that we received our freedom.
That's true.
That's the day that they said it, but we didn't receive the message until years later. A lot of us couldn't even read. How the fuck you know?
Right. Oh, don't worry about what this here says.
That's some
Get back out there,
That's some
champ.
diabolical shit. But you got it. You won. Round 1.
Which of those things would you miss the most?
Of what? Out of what?
So what we say? Juneteenth, Red, White, and Boom, Jazz and
I
Ribs.
don't give a fuck about a Juneteenth. And I don't mean that. Just no.
No, I'm kind of with you. The festival is usually kind of lame.
It's always lame. There's nothing there. There's no food there. There's okay, so the biggest thing, Jazz and Rib Fest.
I agree.
That's the number one.
That's why I go hit up my man down here on Main and Champion, B&K Smokehouse, my man James.
What, Comfest doesn't hold the sway at all?
When does the Jazz and Rib Fest take place?
Usually July.
Okay.
Late July.
That's enough time, I would imagine.
Comfest is usually what, June?
He's calling out Comfest. That's a white folk dream, man. That's Columbus. That's Columbus. That's Columbus Coachella.
That's what I was saying.
That's where the way
we can do our. Well, we're gonna. Ain't no we can. We're gonna do our own. Well, no, we can't.
No, we can't. You can't have groups of more than 10 yet.
That doesn't mean anything. We can have groups of less than 10 and still have a rib fest.
We're gonna set up our own stations. We're just going to put it around the edge of Franklin Park, and every truck gets a block.
We can pull up to your house, and every 2 blocks on the sidewalk is a new setup for a rib to try.
And we've got X's on the ground that says you have to stay this far apart. Andrew will do it with sidewalk chalk.
Right.
No.
All I'm saying is these motherfuckers ain't gonna stop the flow.
You put a food truck like every 20 feet down Broad Street.
But that's what I was thinking. It doesn't have to be a food truck. If it's the Rib Fest, challenge me on your ribs.
The same way you do the marathon.
But I don't eat pork.
You just got 3 miles of Broad Street. There's just nothing but food trucks on either side, every 20 feet, and everybody just hey.
Right.
Yeah, we gotta find some. We gotta find something to do.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they start rolling back restrictions here. I mean, that's what they're talking about. So,
and I think that's the dumbest thing.
I think the public gathering thing is gonna be.
You're not gonna be able to do large crowds, but to your point, I'm wondering if there is a way to do socially distant festivals or. Like, I like the food truck idea, and it's just you line them up a 3-mile stretch of Broad Street. It's one every block.
No, right. They're already trying to help these guys out by letting them set up at truck rest areas.
Right.
Did you hear about that?
No. So they're doing rest stops now?
Food trucks are allowed to operate at rest areas across Ohio now.
My buddy had posted something at one point about how truck drivers who are basically are doing a phenomenal job right now in terms of getting goods to where they need to go, being pissed off because there's no place where they can stop and get something to eat because everything's shut down.
Dude, I was trying to find lunch today driving up to Toledo, man. I had to fucking have a Speedway lunch.
Gotcha.
It was fucking annoying.
I believe it.
Dude, everywhere, I can't drive that gigantic truck through a drive-thru.
Right.
I say fuck them.
Fuck them. Are you gonna join the protesters? But see, I feel like you're talking out of both sides of your mouth here a little bit. You're like, nah, we shouldn't be going back and getting back to normal yet because.
No, you said this last week.
Yeah,
social distancing is bullshit.
Okay.
No, not for everyone. For the ones who have to be stuck in the public housing, yes. I feel like you should do whatever it is that you feel makes you safe. That doesn't mean hug up next to a stranger in the suburbs so everybody else is safe, I'm sure.
So it's vindictive?
He said, so what?
So it's vindictive?
Why would self-preservation be vindictive?
No, I'm saying. I'm sorry. Maybe I misheard it there. It broke up a little
Yeah,
bit.
no, I'm just saying we had the conversation last week for people in public housing with connected vents and 15 people per floor on a 20-floor building. Doesn't make sense to stay home. Nor should you. Get the fuck out of there.
Right, but social distance while they're in public.
Well, if you're staying in the house, you shouldn't be around them in the first place. And like I said, I doubt that they would be leaving their public housing to take a bus to the burbs to choose to camp out next to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's no either way. There's no issue. It's a mind your business situation as far as I see. You know what I mean? So those specific people shouldn't be in the house. No, I don't think so.
They should be able to get out and kind of protect themselves. I hear you.
What are you doing about what are you doing about the people? What are you doing about the people on Skid Row?
Right.
Are you taking them to jail just because they have nowhere to go?
Well, I'll tell you, I got a phone call.
Can't.
I got a phone call today specifically about writing to DeWine or whoever about granting clemency to those that are incarcerated right now because you can't give them space.
What I'm about to do is start sending emails to every news organization available stating how fucking pissed off I am that I have to work every goddamn day of the week while people sit at home making more money in unemployment than I make to keep the shit going.
I hear you.
Legit complaint.
That is a legit complaint.
Like what? Like it's legit people that are telling me I'm getting an $1,800 check every two.
Because they're adding what, like an extra $650 or something.
Right.
Well,
I don't make that. I don't make that in 2 weeks. I don't make that in 2 weeks.
How many kids they got?
I don't make half of that in 2 weeks. I don't make half of that in 2 weeks. At this point, America, it would be fiscally irresponsible for me to keep my job and protect you fucks. Yeah, the same people that are scared. Oh, I'm worried about my job. I need to leave. Yeah, fuck you. Because you're making 2 times what I'm making to file a claim for your scary ass.
Right. And these are people, because you deal with FMLA, right?
Right.
Okay.
So I have to go to work every day. Meanwhile, somebody else can sit on their ass every day, make 2 times what I'm making, and I'm just supposed to continue. At this point, I hope the whole country dies.
I just want to play devil's advocate on this one.
At this point, I hope the whole country dies.
I'm not taking sides on any of this. But I'm wondering, so is it FMLA they're milking, or is it unemployment?
It's unemployment. What I'm saying is, regardless, there's certain jobs, just like everybody been saying, those grocery workers need to be paid more. Those gas station employees need to be... Shut the fuck up.
Cliff saying he needs to be paid more.
Everybody that has to continue working to continue the world going around should be paid more.
No, I agree. But I mean, you're not making... I'm assuming, knowing what you do, you're not necessarily making minimum wage. But I don't know that you're making, what is it, $15 an hour, which is what they say the minimum wage should be.
No,
and I don't want to.
I make $16.49.
Well, that's kind of a generic number too. I mean,
it is.
An hour for that in like L.A.
But it doesn't fucking
versus
matter.
15 an hour in Ohio, which is a completely different number.
The bottom line is, if I stop doing my job today,
you'd be making more. If you were to get fired, you'd be making more on unemployment.
Yeah, clearly, that's a clearly thing.
Okay.
But if I stop doing my job today, and me, meaning the royal we.
Okay.
Who would have a job? No one in this country would have job protection.
What do you say more?
How do you keep your job?
In terms of
right now, you're taking leave to quarantine. How do you keep your job? How is it registered and recorded that you were on leave, covered leave to keep your job.
Gotcha.
If it wasn't for people like me
handling your FMLA claim. All right, I got you.
While y'all stayed and hid inside.
Right.
Not saying that I'm not.
So
working
wait,
from home right now.
Are you able to do FMLA? I assume if you have a quarantine or something that's quarantinable in terms of a diagnosis of COVID.
They're not.
But are people
they're not able to fire you
if you get diagnosed with COVID?
No.
But what I'm
in general,
if you're at risk
in general, if you go right now,
if you were to take FMLA,
if you were obligated to come into work and you said I'm not coming, I don't feel comfortable.
You can file for FMLA.
They cannot fire you.
Okay, so that qualifies for FMLA is what you're saying.
It wouldn't be FMLA. That would be a different kind of leave.
Okay. Whether or not it's paid
they would
or
not be able to fire you.
Gotcha. Because FMLA is not paid.
If you were taking off FMLA, if FMLA don't feel safe at work, that's one thing. If you have FMLA, at least the way that we're doing it at my place, if you have a reason because of COVID-19 directly, they pay you fully for 2 weeks. And then if you have to take care of somebody that is directly related to FMLA,
that's just them.
And
just them giving them their benefits back in the first place. And they would be doing that anyway,
right? And
if I caught it, whether you had this in place, you would be paying for me to do this anyway,
right?
Well, you're in a different boat because you're in charge of FMLA. You work for that department.
Correct. We got a little bug situation here. We got to deal with. You coming for the light? Sorry.
What was you saying?
No, so I think the Rita's chiming in with kind of the same thing. She says, and that's why there are 30,000 jobs posted in Ohio, because folks can sit home and get money right now. They don't have to work. You're absolutely right in terms of.
And I gotta.
You can make more on unemployment.
And I have to eat it. And I have to sit here and eat it for all the people that are like, well, I want to be able to keep my job, so...
Well, and here's the thing, is I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. I'm disagreeing with a system that allows there to be jobs that don't pay as much as unemployment pays. Well, why isn't the minimum that unemployment pays the minimum wage?
No. See, this is what I have the issue with. It's not... Unemployment only pays 60%
of what is it? Whatever your last salary was. Okay.
So,
wage.
Life hack, ladies and gentlemen. If you plan on getting on unemployment, work overtime because it's 60% of your last 90 days.
So it's 60% of your last 3 months of pay.
Right. So if you work overtime in your 90 days, you can get 100% of your pay if you put that work in.
If you get to 60 hours a week or 80 hours a week, whatever it is.
Exactly.
Okay, so I got 2 cents I want to chime in on this.
Go for it.
Right.
I'm salaried, so this shit doesn't matter to me.
Right.
All right, so back in from 2010 to 2013, I was working in landscaping, in which case I was laid off during the dead season between November to March. Basically, March. And cumulatively, every year, my unemployment compensation got better. And fall was actually the smallest amount of hours that I worked throughout the entire year. Spring is when I put in the most overtime.
Right. So
in 2010, spring was huge, and then my unemployment compensation come winter in 2010 to 2011 was like $200 a month.
Right.
And then when I went 2010 to 2011, again, it doesn't change for landscaping. Spring is your big push. Summer starts to run off. Fall is pretty dead, and then wintertime you get laid off because there's nothing to do.
Right.
So, you get that big wave, that tsunami wave in spring, and then summer. So you can see how the last 90 days wasn't the highest pay mark for me.
Right.
But every year, 2010, 2011, 2012, my unemployment compensation went up to where in 2012, before I went salary, my unemployment compensation was like $450 a week.
Okay.
So I'm not following your rationale on the last 90 days. I have no idea how the system works, but that's how I know it went for me.
So, what you're saying is you were on unemployment for 3 years straight, and in those 3 years,
No, 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 no. Every year in landscaping, you get laid off for like a 2 to
You
3
get
month
laid
period.
off during the
Right.
off season, basically.
Right.
Seasonal work.
So did you get any
Yeah.
pay increases within those time frames?
No, not really.
So you made the same amount of money each
50
year.
cents. Fit.
Now let me ask you
1 year,
this:
50
Did
cents the
you
next
did you
year.
collect did you collect your money under the table, or did you have
No, I
time
pay taxes
sheets?
on it all.
Because I mean, if you had timesheets, then it shouldn't be. There's no. Everything should be there in front of you as to how everything was
As far as I
calculated.
understand it, it goes into how long you've worked at a company and how much you have paid. Because as a company, you pay into unemployment. As an
Right.
individual, you pay into unemployment, and the longer you're with them,
Which is why you're not
that
eligible
pays into
until
that. Because so
right.
it gradually increases over time. So that's what I'm saying. I just wanted to see. I mean,
So
because
that
you
I
work
mean
in the
your
industry,
your
It's
I
your
just want to
situation
clarify
is
what
completely
it is.
different though, because that's a one off. If you're being allowed to file unemployment for just the time frame that you're out of work, you're still technically working for the company. You get what I'm saying?
Well,
So that
unemployment's
would
unemployment.
but
fluctuate.
it's not.
As far as the Department of Jobs and Family Services is concerned, whether you are fired without cause or laid off, you are unemployed, and you get to file that as long as you are continually looking for employment. And that was the
Right.
loophole that we all utilized, even though it was a planned layoff, and
Right.
Right.
I get it.
everybody in the
Everybody in the
ag
industry.
Right.
they use that as long as you follow the rules of the unemployment system and you apply to
And
at
The
you
least
question
two
and you
isn't
places
whether you're
a week.
eligible for the unemployment. The question is how are you making more
well,
each year
here's the
off of
thing though, is it's not 90 days. It's your average weekly salary,
off of how
not
long?
off of however long you're with the company. So it's not
Yeah,
90
that's what I'm
days.
saying. It's not
It's
90
it's
days.
literally for Matt it would be from that time period of March to November or April to November or whatever it is. It's whatever his weekly
But
salary was.
that wouldn't make sense because if he's saying he's making more each year, it wouldn't make a difference
It
what his
means
weekly salary was because he's making the same amount.
it would in the sense that I think he caveated that saying he got like a 50 cents a year or a 50 cent
Oh
an
no, I
hour
didn't hear
raise
that.
or
'Cause
whatever.
that's still a raise.
Yeah,
Like I said,
every
the
year.
more money you make,
But it's not the last 90 days. It's the total period of time that you're with that company divided by your total salary to get an average salary. So let's say he starts in April. He's working buku overtime. That's actually contributing to that average weekly salary. That'll
right?
bring the average up at the end.
Right, exactly. So I went from $200 a week in my first year of unemployment to $450 a week in my last year of unemployment.
Right, because you probably
Before I went
booked
before I went
more.
salary, and I just didn't get unemployment anymore.
Right, once your salary, you're fucked.
Right? Yeah. No, they got you by the balls there.
We joked about that
Which
all
is
the
why.
time.
Which is why I'm so glad, even though like I have been promoted, in my new position, I'm still hourly. I am so glad to be back on hourly. And when I tell people that, they're like, "Really? You're paid hourly?" I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I'm paid hourly because I was working 70 hours a week salary and
Right,
not
and
getting
not
paid
getting
for
that
it."
money for it. Yep, that was my whole thing when I left advertising and went to the more corporate side. Was I was working 60, 70 hours a week, and it's not like I was making more money for
Right?
it.
Like at least
Now I work a
I get
solid
some
38 to 42 and make the same fucking money.
Now, see, I would love to go back to that, if I was actually working a solid 42.
Right.
But I mean, the ag industry. I mean, it's just the way that the system for this industry is that you're going to have tsunami waves of we need you to work 70 hours a week.
Yeah. I mean,
Particularly in spring.
Right.
And then it dies off. An influx in late summer, and then it dies off again. Then you get another influx in late fall, and then it dies off again.
Yeah.
So I mean, for my industry in particular, yeah, it works out well.
Good deal. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, you would think that would be the case with any kind of seasonal work, really. As long as you're able to kind of get back to work there when you're in season. And what are you thinking about?
Agriculture's a weird one, man. I mean, we have so many subsidies that I'm surrounded by Republicans.
I'm sure.
The farmer types, the rural types, they're all God, government out of my goddamn pocket. They're like one of the most highly subsidized industries on the fucking planet.
Oh,
at least in this country.
No doubt. And there's been all sorts of talk about that since Trump took office. Like all of the trade war with China, what that really hurt was, U.S. farms and that kind of shit. That basically, that's why they had to get bailed out. Like, because we went to war with one of our biggest buyers. Like, that's dumb.
Well, I mean, it's not totally dumb. I mean, there are direct correlations. I've listened to the arguments on them.
Yeah.
I mean, the global economy we live in, it's all fucking interwoven.
Oh, it is.
And like pulling out one, piece of the Jenga pile really does have impacts, and you can bring down the pile, for somebody else.
Right. No, that makes sense.
It's like a multi-tower Jenga pile. Where if you pull out one piece, it may not drop the main tower, but you can drop like an entire piece of another tower.
Right. So checking in with the draft. Because I see Cliff getting sleepy over here. Had a few more Ohio State Buckeyes go in the draft.
Who?
Devon Hamilton. Went to the Jags. Defensive tackle. Let's see. Jonah Jackson. Went to the Lions. Offensive line. Hey, we have some linemen going. That's good. I think there was one more. Maybe not. We're in round 3 of the draft, though. What are you thinking about? Do we even think football is going to happen in the fall?
Why wouldn't it?
Dude, I will tell you, high school football here in Ohio is talking about moving to the spring.
Can't do high school.
High school is talking about moving to the spring.
That doesn't make any sense. Why would you do high school? You can't do school. What's the incentive for me to bring my child to your school? NFL, on the other hand, is completely different. First of all, you get paid millions of dollars.
True.
Show up or you don't. It's your job.
Right.
It's the same as what I'm doing right now. If
Well,
I don't show up, I don't get paid. It's up to me.
Right. Well, and I would assume that the NFL could put procedures into place where, like, they basically do the forehead swipes or whatever the fuck Amazon's doing in terms of like thermal temperatures and those kind of
Even
things.
if you don't, you get paid
but it's
enough,
not.
Bruh.
I don't think at that point
insurance.
it's about the person who's sick. I think it's about everybody else getting sick. I mean, we saw that with the NBA and with the NHL. Was that their teammates and the opponents ended up having it.
So-called. I don't even believe all that, though. Because you mean to tell me at all the switches and all that shit in the NBA that Rudy Gobert had that shit, Donovan Mitchell got that shit, who else? I can name 3 other names I can't think of right now. Not Nicholas Batum. What's the dude's name? All these people got that shit and just stopped with them. They just stopped making bullets with them.
Well, I mean, they shut everything down at that point.
But what about the other teammates?
No, I hear you.
There were 15 other players out on that court with them.
Well,
so you mean that one person that coughed on so-and-so, that sat next to so-and-so didn't catch it and all that?
So what I will say is, I think, and my mom's been bringing this up a lot recently, like Ohio's up to, I don't even know. But we're talking thousands versus millions, right? So it's still a very small percentage of the
I
population
understand.
that's been infected.
As a city, I understand that. But the NBA is almost like the city on a microcosm.
I hear you on
We're
that.
all going to be together.
Yeah.
If Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert of the Utah Jazz got this, and they were playing Chris Paul and Steven Adams of Oklahoma City,
Right.
you mean to tell me that these are the only two people that caught this, and this is this big of a deal of a virus going around? Like, stop it.
Maybe everybody else is type O.
Like,
Maybe everybody else is type O.
Right, I get it. Stop it, though. Stop
Well, they
it.
got
All
the
of it is a
antibody
stop it
test out now.
situation. Like,
They are into the antibody test now, which is, I think they're saying like 13.9% of New York City has tested positive for antibodies.
it's an
21%.
antibody
Okay.
test. It's an antibody test, though. It's not a test for the virus.
But if you have the antibodies, that means you have
but
protection
there's also
from the virus.
matching antibodies that match with other
Well,
viruses.
it means you
like,
have
this
been
is
in
a whole.
contact with the virus.
No, it doesn't even have to be that. You could have a flu, and those antibodies match
The
that's
COVID
it.
antibodies.
Stop it. Like, this is just another reason for them to be like, yeah, 100,000 people have COVID. No, they don't. You just match the antibodies.
Really?
And now you're trying to say that everyone has. No. Stop. Stop it. Like, let's stop it.
From everything I've heard about this, is that it's a little bit of a different antibody.
It doesn't match up to the flu. It's a different.
That's what I heard. I heard that all of the shit matches up.
No, not based on what I've heard, not the research I've seen.
So what are we?
Yeah.
So what are the symptoms then? Why are the symptoms matching? Why are people saying it's flu-like symptoms? Why are flu-like symptoms?
Symptoms aren't the same as the underlying disease.
That's what I'm saying. Why are flu-like symptoms being written off as COVID?
I don't know that I've
People
seen
that
a
go
lot
in and say, "Yeah, I'm having flu." Yeah, you got COVID. Go home.
No,
Why?
See, I haven't heard that. Go ahead.
There's a lot of correlation between flu-like symptoms and COVID.
Right.
But at the same time, there are different viruses, and they can actually tell the difference under the microscope. What the difference is between the antibodies.
Is that why they're testing for antibodies
influenza.
and not the virus itself?
Antibodies, though, don't get produced until you've come into exposure with the virus.
Otherwise,
you wouldn't have antibodies for it.
But if you could tell, like you're saying, if you could tell the difference between the two, then you'd be able to test for the virus itself and not the antibodies.
Correct.
Why are we testing for the antibodies?
Because the
if you know the difference between...
Because if it's already out of your system.
Bingo. So if you have the antibodies, it could already be out of your system.
Could.
And probably is.
Could be a situation where you never had it at all.
That's the
you
biggest
could have
problem
been
with this disease is that you don't so many people are asymptomatic.
Like this is what we
acting like they know what's going on all of a sudden.
But this is what we're talking about
like,
in terms we talked about this last week about type O being asymptomatic.
Right. We did. 2 weeks ago.
Whatever it was.
Nonetheless, we also talked about Dr. Drew and all of them thinking that they knew what they were talking about. Why is it that we live in a country where we are so sure of ourselves that when we come up with a new idea, we're sure about it right then and there?
Because that's how viruses work.
No. You know what? They've been very
is it?
About this.
Or could we have stopped this? Or could we have stopped this long before if we knew how viruses work?
Just because...
We could have stopped it.
Exactly. So I'm trying to figure out what you're saying, Michael. Help me.
Because we chose not to take actions that would have stopped it in its tracks.
Right.
Isolating people, testing people. That's what we did with SARS. That's what we did with previous outbreaks. And
now we're here now.
Ebola, all of that.
And now we're here
now.
We
identified people early, and they were in isolation.
And now we're here now.
People were not in isolation.
You're proving my point. Now we're here now, and you're not testing for a virus. You're testing for the antibody.
They're still testing for the virus, Cliff. Antibodies are not about stopping it in its tracks. It's about tracking herd immunity.
They're not testing
By
for
the time you get
they're trying to track how many people in the general population have already contracted the virus and gotten over it.
Right.
But if you're not testing for the virus but antibodies, then you're not getting an accurate reading.
What do you mean?
It's a helpful data point.
They just explained it on Joe Rogan the other day. The last dude, the black dude, Tory, what's her name? He said, I just been tested. I'm negative for the coronavirus. Joe Rogan said, allow me to be clear. He did not get tested for the coronavirus. He got tested for the antibodies and does not have them. That is two different things. No one has the test. Right. That's what they've been saying. No one has the test.
No, there are plenty of tests that are out for coronavirus.
They do.
There's not enough.
There's not enough of them.
That's why they're saying, why aren't you sending them to the hospital? And that's what Joe Rogan's saying. It's a completely different test, ladies and gentlemen. The antibody test and your coronavirus test.
Absolutely agree.
Completely agree with. No one's disagreeing with you on that.
So explain to me how
the antibody test is more about how do we start reopening things.
So no, stop though, because I feel like we're dancing around the subject. What I'm saying is, if you test positive for the antibodies, how can you then say, yes, for sure you have the coronavirus?
You don't. It doesn't mean you have it. It means you were exposed to it and your body fought it off. Which is all about herd immunity, which is what we're trying to get to with the country. So this 13 or 20% in terms of people that have antibodies, you want that number closer to 80% because that's what starts to protect the population.
Read all that. But that's if what
testing for the virus is about the active virus in terms of how many new cases, how many things are being transmitted, how many. The antibody test is more about how are we doing in the long term around this. Because until we get to that, 60, 70, 80% number, it won't be safe to necessarily open up the country because it is still a threat at that point.
And even then, if you test positive for antibodies, doesn't mean you are completely immune to a variant of the.
It could mutate.
If you test positive for the antibodies, doesn't mean that you've come in contact with the virus.
Most of the time it does.
But
your body.
But that's the thing, though. That's the thing. That's what I'm getting at here. That's what I'm getting at here. Is
your body won't produce antibodies, though, unless it has had a reason to fight something with those antibodies.
Or
yeah, very specific.
If there's another virus with similar with similar details.
But that's the thing, is that antibodies have nothing to do with the symptoms that you've had.
We're not talking about symptoms,
specific.
Though.
They're very, very specific. You have an antibody for a common cold that you got last year.
Right.
You have an antibody for the common cold you got 14 years ago.
Right.
You have antibodies for a lot of different individual
I don't
things.
think... Listen.
Every single virus that infects your body has a different antibody.
Right.
So wait.
And they have enough baseline data to work off of right now. Baseline data off of the active COVID patients, and their bodies are actively producing antibodies.
So my mom, who worked for the Red Cross for 30 years,
there we go.
Regional QA director, she's chiming into the chat.
Right.
There may be some cross-reactivity for antibody tests, but it's not much. Diagnostic tests for the virus. Antibody test means you've been exposed and developed a response to it. So to your point, you're not, I think, Matt, you made that point. You're not immune to it at that point, but it shows that your body has developed a response to fight the virus.
It's been exposed, and, I've heard two different versions of this. Is either you have preliminary antibodies and primary antibodies. The preliminary ones make it bounce off you like a fucking bulletproof vest.
Yep.
And then there are
until it mutates, and then it doesn't work anymore. But.
Right, exactly. if it mutates, but if it mutates, you also, that's why they want to harvest people that have antibodies.
Right.
They want their blood plasma.
Because that's where you're creating the vaccine and all of that kind of stuff off of.
That's how you can inject that. It's the same thing they did with smallpox. I just listened to a podcast where they were talking about historic pathogens.
So where did this... my question is, though, where did this come from? Like, why are we just now saying we've never had any tests, no testing for the situation, but we can.
Because the government just funded a shit ton of things to get tests made.
Wait though. So we don't know that you've tested positive, but we can test that you got the antibodies for the virus. So we don't know that you got the virus, but we know that you got the antibodies for the virus in you.
I'm sure because I'm sure they have control groups that they know had the virus. They tested for the virus, and they got better.
How do you know, though?
Because they have patients who have recovered, Cliff. And then they are testing them for the antibodies, and that's your baseline for the antibodies.
So you're doing it off of a curve.
What do you mean off of a curve? No. If you've recovered, if you know that these people had the virus, we have tests to test for the virus. We don't have enough of them to test the population at large. That's the issue. So but we have tests to confirm that people have. How is that doing it off of a curve?
Because you can't test everyone, so you're gambling off of.
No, wait, you're not listening to what I'm saying. If you have a test for the virus,
right?
So you have sick people. You test them, you confirm that, yes, they have this virus.
But how if you're not testing them for the virus, but the antibodies?
That's what I'm asking. I'm getting there. If you have those same sick people who were sick that you confirmed, yes, had the virus, and then they got better, you are mapping their antibodies.
But how do you confirm, yes, they had the virus?
Because they have tests for the virus. They know what this virus looks like at the molecular level.
Maybe it's just being explained different. They have tests for certain people and antibody tests for others. They have virus tests for certain, antibody for others.
The virus test is harder to produce at scale than the antibody test.
But they are testing people.
They are testing people for the virus.
Others for antibodies.
Correct.
Alone.
Correct.
Yeah, it's two separate tests.
It's two separate tests that have two different objectives. The virus test is to see, do you have this? The antibody test is to say, have you had this in the past? Those are two different objectives, though. If you're testing somebody for the virus, it's because you're trying to treat them or see if you need to treat them. Antibody test is more about, have we built up societally herd immunity?
Correct.
We know we haven't because we've been trying to lower the curve.
But that's been the whole thing.
No.
Antibody tests will help you understand how you've lowered the curve. And have you really lowered the curve or not?
So this goes back to one of the original points I made probably 3 weeks ago. 95%.
Doesn't matter. I'm not interested. I'm not interested anymore. On everything I love. Not interested. At all. We weren't even supposed to be talking about this shit.
I feel like you were the one that brought it up. I'm kidding. I think Matt brought it up. But I just wanted to see the look on your face. Cool. I asked you for different topics.
Listen, I'm over it.
I was afraid I was going to get muted.
Maybe we should have.
I mean, I'm just being honest. Probably should have a while ago. Love you to death.
How do you want to wrap this show up? Love you to death.
Don't want to talk about any corona. I don't give a fuck about any of this. The only problem that I have right now is the fact that I'm not getting paid enough. Don't care about.
I don't have an answer for you on that.
Nobody does. But if I'm being completely honest, I slept through this whole episode.
I know you have.
First, people they're accepting massive amounts of viral load going into work every day. Like me, I'm taking a marginal risk, going to work because I'm not surrounded by these people. I'm in a greenhouse every day.
You're the number one. You're the number one that people should be fighting for. You are the number one example.
No. Seriously, I'm not even that essential of a worker. We're taking
it doesn't matter. Are they saying that you can stop? Did they say that you could stop? Did they say that you could go home and we don't need your services anymore, Matthew J. Fox? No, they did not. Pay you more as well. This is the same angel that we're talking about that said, I don't feel comfortable keeping that 12. Shut the fuck up and take that money.
Hey, it's still sitting in the bank account.
And
And
keep
I
it
spent a
there.
dime of it.
And you better not give it back. If they ask for it back, I'll fight that fight for you. Because if they take yours back,
Hey.
they may be coming for mine too.
No, it's not about taking it back. It's whether or not I want to give it back, and that just depends on how things roll out. If I end up unemployed because of this, if the economy really crashes,
Listen, I'm
because
hoping
this
that they
shit goes
fire
down.
me off of this. Honest to God, I'm hoping that they let me go. It doesn't make sense for me to continue doing what I'm doing for less than half of what people are making for sitting at home.
Well, and I would agree with that.
Like, that's fiscally irresponsible. I'm stressing myself out.
I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to argue with the point that they really set up the unemployment structure to incentivize people to sit at home and not do anything.
I agree with that.
I mean, they fucked that up.
That's Trump. That's nobody but Trump.
Unemployment's been broken for a long time.
Doesn't matter. That's Trump.
I can't help but sit here and point out the irony the Republicans set it up so people could sit at home and just earn a paycheck.
Yeah, that's Trump.
I mean, that's kind of like, what happened here?
They've always collected most of those benefits, though.
That's something. Like I said, I work with a lot of fucking conservative people, man. Like 95% of the people I work with are Trumpers, let alone conservative. Like I find there's a distinction between the two.
There is.
Like there's conservative people and then there are Trumpers. I work with 95% Trumpers, which means they're ultra fucking conservative.
Right. Well, Cliff, I think
seriously, I can't believe how many of them are like jumping on this fucking unemployment tip and just being like, "Yeah, no, it's good."
Right, right.
You are such a hypocrite.
We're level.
It's
We're all level.
Leveling of it all.
Like the short guys. Short guys want to be tall just so they can call someone a short shit. But they remember how many times they got caught.
There are very few things in this world that really light my fucking engine, and it's hypocrisy.
Yeah.
That's the number one. If you were gonna like be all high and mighty about your ideals, and then as soon as the opportunity presents itself, you're gonna turn a run. That's fucked up.
Yeah, I mean mine's incompetent leaders, but
no, hypocrisy, man. I fucking
mine's the rotation of the globe itself.
Need to stop that right now.
Are you all right, Cliff? Do you need a hug? So, Cliff, I think what you've learned tonight is if you don't want to fall asleep during the show, come to the table with some topics.
We should have got into Corona a long time ago, but it was off the table.
Yeah.
It seemed to animate him.
You got anything you want to talk about before we wrap this show up for tonight?
Love everybody.
Oh, you going right there. I was asking if you had another topic.
I have no topics.
I mean, we're at 153, 154, so if we want to wrap it, we can. Matt, you got anything else before we call it a night?
I'm good, man. I gotta work in the fucking morning. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you all for joining us here tonight. As always, hit us up with a like, a subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Follow us over on Facebook at Foolproof Entertainment Network, and obviously, hopefully, if you're here tonight on the YouTubes, subscribe. That shit helps us out. And if you're catching this on the replay, give us a comment out there on Apple Podcast or whatever your favorite podcast app is, and help us get up there in the rankings a little bit. Other than that,
nothing but love for you.
Appreciate it. Cheers, Mr. Fox. Cliff, you want to take us out? What you got?
Love everyone.
Love all of y'all. All right, take it easy.
Nothing but love for you.
Bye, Matt. Take it easy, man.
Later, fellas.